What is a survival myth that is completely wrong and could get you killed? The YouTube videos on how to unarm an attacker from close range. You'll die before you can yell, "Yeehaw!" If you ever find yourself in snake country, make as much noise as possible. Most people want to avoid snakes, so stay quiet, but they are more scared of you than you are of them. Talk loudly, stomp, but obviously keep an eye and ear out for any fellas who don't want you to be there. Source: Australian. If you input your PIN number backwards in an ATM, it will withdraw money, but it will be stuck, and the police will be notified in the event of a robbery. It's completely false, and you could get killed or seriously hurt if you play dumb like you don't know your own PIN. Imagine your PIN was like 7337. It won't kill you, but don't pee on a jellyfish sting. It will actually release more of the toxin. If you get stabbed with anything, don't pull it out, since it could be the thing that's preventing you from bleeding out. Instead, immobilize it and go to the hospital where they can stop the bleeding when they remove the object. A lot of Southeast Asians believe going from heat to aircon, jumping in a swimming pool on a hot day, or even fans will kill you. So many deaths happen every year because people are afraid of being shocked to death from going from hot to cold too quickly. One I know of is the myth that you can drink water from a cactus. I heard it's false, and you can only drink from a small minority of cacti without having certain health consequences I am not aware of. Curing an eye infection with your urine is dangerous. Let me repeat that. Do not, under any circumstances, put urine in your eyes. Head to the doctor. Even waiting it out is better. Who does that? I refuse to believe that's a real thing. Herbivorous animals are friendly and peaceful, so you are safe being around them and their presence will show you where food is. Seriously, everything from cows to deer can and will kill you if you make it angry. It is usually a good idea if you're in the wild not to get near any large wild animal, but herbivores can often be even more aggressive than the predators. Sucking a snake bite, it will often make it worse. Sticking your finger up a dog's bum. I've read this a few times, not a good idea. Best way to deal with a dog attack is to try to move away slowly, sideways with your arms at your sides so that you're not threatening. Don't look at the eyes and don't smile, both are seen as a challenge. Don't run away, the dog will instinctively chase you. Get up high if you can, dogs can't climb very well. If shit hits the fan, do the opposite of looking unthreatening. Stand tall with your arms in the air and growl or roar. If there's something nearby, throw it at the dog to make it think twice. Wrap clothing around your arm to hand to the dog should it go in for a bite. You're pretty much guaranteed to be bit, so make it in a place that is less important and less likely to bleed out. Don't lose your footing or fall to the ground, you'll be toast. Don't pull away from the dog if it has bitten you, this will cause more damage. Once the dog has bitten you, it probably won't let go. Aim to kill or maim the dog. Fingers in the eyes are good. Jumping on the dog with all your body weight is better. If you break their ribs, they will probably give up. Staying away from aggressive dogs is your best bet. Follow flying birds to find water. They can simply be flying to spend a night anywhere, so we can't rely on them. Fish are the ones you should follow to find water. PM me your sexy shoulder. Thanks for that comment, dude. Not quite a survival myth, but interesting nonetheless. Paradoxical undressing. It is when you are hypothermic but still remove your clothes. It explains why dead people are sometimes found naked out in snowy ranges. It is usually during the final stages of hypothermia, and the theory is that your blood vessels give up on constricting blood flow to your skin or peripheries, so you suddenly feel super warm, which in turn causes you to die quicker. Too long didn't read. If done right, a tourniquet should hurt like a motherfucker, and you're going to want to loosen it, but in the words of Egon Spengler, it would be bad. This is a very long one. Gradually loosening an applied tourniquet over time is a thing I still see in first aid training videos for some reason. Don't do that. Once a tourniquet is on, remember, and mark the person if you can, what time it was applied and leave the rest to doctors in a stable environment. Loosening a tourniquet may result in blood loss returning, which requires retightening it. Tightening and loosening repeatedly may cause, on top of additional blood loss, blood to pool up inside the limb, which can cause even more damage. Removing a bullet is more dangerous than leaving it in. Trying to remove it can tear vital organs. It can be pushed in even deeper, or removing it can cause the person to bleed out. Jason Bourne would like a word with you. You do not need to wait 24 hours to report a missing person. If you think someone is missing, report it as such. The faster a missing person report is filed, the greater the chance the person will be found. Don't eat snow to stay hydrated if you're in a winter survival situation. Losing the heat to the snow while eating it is more dangerous than dehydration. Heat it up or let it melt in a container first to lose less heat. You can hydrate from soda. If that's all you have, drink it. Cotton wicks moisture. Cotton is probably the worst material to wear in an outdoor survival situation. because it holds moisture and in doing so loses its ability to keep you warm. Punch a shark in the nose. One myth I've heard was that moss only grows on the north side of trees. This, of course, is false. Drinking alcohol to stay warm. You sweat, your blood will rush to your skin and you will freeze/die much faster. That you can eat what animals eat. Not true. Animals have different digestion systems that aren't the same as humans. It is not advised to wring out animal shit and drink the fluid. Just drink the water that the camera crew has with them instead. Beggar was exposed. If you have to forage for food, avoid mushrooms entirely. The odds are so slim you will find an edible kind that you're much better off looking for things like nuts, seeds and berries. Another one. Poison ivy isn't just washed off with water and soap. It almost leaves a sap-like residue on your skin. Wash the area and wipe off the residue, never reusing the same part of the cloth. Imagine wiping grease off of your skin. It's much like the same thing. You can avoid some nasty rashes and immune responses if you do it correctly. It can make a huge difference outdoor. Not quite as sexy and interesting as the rest of these, but if you're walking alone at night, putting a key between each finger with the thought that you can punch someone and they'll be impaled by 3 keys is useless. You're much more likely to hurt the webbing on your fingers since the grip you have on each key will be really weak. Instead, put a single key between your thumb and forefinger, parallel to your thumb, and make a fist. This still isn't a great defense, but it is an improvement over simply a fist. Also, don't try to kick a man in the crotch unless you have an amazing shot, in which case you're probably better off running away. If you miss or don't kick hard enough, both of which are likely in the case when you're likely panicking, you're just going to cause mild discomfort and piss him off even more. Wear a seatbelt. How is this even a... There's myths about it being bad if you go into a lake or there's a fire, but 1, that is an incredibly tiny proportion of car crashes, and 2, if you're in that situation, you're far more likely to be knocked out and die of inaction if you're not wearing a seatbelt. I know this is a mundane tip, but you're far more likely to be in a life-threatening car crash than be stabbed or be in a falling elevator. Wear a seatbelt. If you ever fall off a ship or ferry at sea and were lucky enough to be spotted, don't try to swim to safety. The more you try to swim, the less are the chances of survival. Just try to keep afloat and conserve energy and body heat, while rescue teams do what they're supposed to do. Unless you're in hypothermic water, the best bet always is to stay afloat without trying to swim to somewhere. This information about falling aboard, hypothermia and conditions, survival at sea, etc. are based on my own experiences of 12 years of sailing on a merchant ship. The first mistake is to look for food and water first before having a shelter up to keep yourself dry and warm. Edit. When I say shelter first, it includes having a fire too, which I forgot to mention. When you are wet and exposed to the elements, your core body temperature can drop and you can get hypothermia if it gets too cold, and you would burn more calories than necessary. A big reason to building a shelter too is to also keep yourself off the ground, because the ground is an infinite heat sink, which means you lose your body heat way faster than you would think and will be more exposed to the cold and elements. Guys, yes, it's good to be near a water source, but remember that it's always colder around rivers, streams, lakes and oceans. Make sure you are able to easily gather shelter and fire material within the area, plus finding a prime location to set up shelter. Rescue breaths are wildly overrated in most movies and TV shows. You'll see someone in cardiac arrest and the rescuer will stop giving compressions and focus on breathing into a person's mouth and blammo! Awake, alert, alive. Nope, don't do that. Your body does store a fairly decent amount of oxygen in its blood at all times. If someone in front of you ODs and their mouth is covered with saliva or vomit, or someone collapses in front of you in a suspected cardiac arrest, your plan of action is twofold. Are they breathing and do they have a pulse? This is easy to fuck up, especially in a moment of panic. My rule as an EMS provider is that if you don't feel it in 10 seconds, it's not there. Start compressions. If they're not in cardiac arrest, they will let your ass know. And the law covers you under Good Samaritan clauses in most of these cases. 2. If you are the only person attending to this body, do not stop and give rescue breaths if help is on the way, and we'll be there soon. It takes about 4 to 7 decent compressions to get blood recirculating in the body after stopping to give mouth to mouth. That's a lot of blood, carrying a lot of vital oxygen reserves that aren't making it to the brain. Obviously, if you're a long way out from help and you feel safe to do so, give rescue breaths, but it should never be priority number 1. By the way, if you hear ribs crack, make a face, make vomit noises if you have to, tell the person their bones are fucking grossing out, but don't stop compressions, because what are compressions? That's right, they are number 1. This guy's the most badass EMS in the world, holy shit.